Well, hey guys, welcome to today's video. We are out back in the field today getting ready to undertake a huge project for us, and that is turning all of this into what's going to become our summer through the fall mum growing field. I mentioned that we were going to start growing mums this year in a video maybe in March or something like that, and now it's getting to the time of the year where we've got to get our preparations underway because our mums will be arriving in a few weeks and we need to be ready for them when they get there. Now, chances are you're not doing something like this, and the reason I wanted to show you this, is just to show you what we're doing, but also I want to show you this ground cover and how important this is for any nursery of any size for laying the base for an area to grow your plants on, because it's absolutely essential when you're going to grow plants in pots of any size. You got to have something underneath those plants or they're going to root directly into the ground. So today it's going to be all about laying out woven ground cover on a large scale or on a small scale. So let's get to it. Now you can see out here, this is just like all of our nursery space. Everywhere we grow plants, we have this ground cover on the ground. Now, I get asked about this a lot. This is not black plastic. It is not plastic. I cannot emphasize that enough. This stuff is called woven ground cover. We'll give you a really close-up look at this stuff. I want you to see that, and I want you to see why that matters. And really why it matters is because this stuff does not hold water. If it rains, water does not pond on top of this like it would if you were just laying out black plastic. That is a huge, huge difference. So besides it not ponding water, it keeps your weeds down so you don't have to worry about weeds growing up from underneath, and it makes the perfect base for you to put plants of any size on. So it's really, really, really vital that you have something like this where you're growing plants in your nursery of any size. I don't care if your nursery's 10 feet by 10 feet. You need a piece of this stuff to put your plants on. It's absolutely imperative. Now this ground cover that we use, you buy this on a roll, and it comes, as far as I know, from a 3-foot wide roll to a 15-foot wide roll. If it comes bigger than that, I'm not aware of it. But by the time it gets to be that size, it's a load to manage, like physically manage it. It's heavy. And this is a 15-foot wide roll. As it lays in front of me here, it's about 7.5 feet wide, but it's folded in half. So we're going to take this roll and roll it out that way, about 125 feet or so. And then it's going to unfold just like a book. So it will cover then 15 feet wide in a strip at a time. Now, a couple of things that this is really, really good for when you're laying out a mum field, or really when you're doing anything related to plants. I love these little lines that are painted on this. It just helps you keep everything straight. And it's not that we're trying to get things laid out geometrically perfect or anything. We're not, and that's not going to happen. But it just helps you keep things from, your lines from going like this and going like that when you're laying things out straight. And the ground out here, it's not level and it's not flat. So there's going to be undulations in the ground cover. So there's no way to get it perfectly straight. But it does help us lay it out in an organized manner, keep our pots and everything straight and in order, and just helps you keep count of things and helps you lay out your irrigation, and it's good for a lot of things. So this woven ground cover is a great product. Can't recommend it enough. Not trying to sell it to you, but just telling you it's a vital part of a nursery. Now, one of the really good things about this ground cover and the way that we're doing it, at least, is Casey and I can get side by side and unroll this, even on this ground that's sloping to the side, and we can manage it pretty well, because I'm telling you, this is pretty heavy when you get it started. Obviously, every foot you roll it, it gets lighter and lighter, and that's a good thing. But we just do this every time we've laid out a new space, to us at least out here, we just get together on it and just roll it and cut it and roll it again. So that's what we're doing here, and this is just probably the largest area we've ever done at one time. I mean, like all in one fell swoop, I guess you'd say. So, this is a pretty big undertaking for us, but we're just gonna keep on rolling. All right, guys, I'm probably, 40 feet from the end we started on, unrolling it that direction. I don't really think any of that matters, but the thing is I'm trying to quickly get around the perimeter of this first sheet and get some of these staples in it. These are just sod staples or sod spikes, whatever you call them. Listen, the longer, the better. And we're really fortunate out here tonight. Right now, there's just barely even a breath of wind at all. I mean, we have a 1 or 2 mile an hour breeze blowing at most. And let me just tell you, laying this ground cloth down like this, if you've got any wind really at all to speak of, you just about can't do it without an army of people helping. And that may sound like a big overstatement, but it is not. I'm telling you, we have had major problems trying to lay this ground cover before. Much, much smaller pieces than this, with my wife and I and 3 kids helping, was not near enough for a smaller piece than this. And this stuff turns into an absolute sail. You have to get this stuff fastened down really, really well. You know, driving one of these staples in or pushing one of these staples in just here and there is nowhere near enough. So, you know, until you get plants on top of this, get some weight on top of this, you know, you get a little wind come through, a little 20-mile-an-hour gust or something like that, it will rip this whole thing up. It'll put it back there in the trees, and it'll do it in absolutely no time. So you gotta get this stuff fastened down good. However many staples you think you need to put in it, double that number and you might be getting close. You just about can't overdo it, and I can't emphasize that enough. But along the way, we're straightening it, pulling it somewhat tight. It doesn't have to be like crazy tight, but these are just some of the steps that we take in getting this going before we even start to put out the next run. So 1 run down, 1 to go, but we got to get this one fastened really well first. Now, a couple other things to say about this woven ground cover that I think are important, and I'm telling you what I'm telling you from 8 to 10 years of experience in using this stuff. So, you know, you might ask somebody that has more experience what they think about it, but I'm gonna tell you what I think about it on some of the things, a couple of things that I've heard. Number one is I've never seen a weed or a plant of any kind grow up through this ground cover from the bottom. Now, people will dispute that, and that's fine, but I've never seen it. And what I have seen and what will happen is that when you get dirt spilled out here on top of this, and that's inevitable, anytime you got potted plants out here, you're gonna have dirt leach out the bottom of the pots, you're gonna have pots spill, and you'll get dirt piles. You'll have places where water will wash down, just for example here, wash downhill, and it will pile up little mulch piles. And weed seeds will find that, and they will root, and they will root through the ground cover from the top. I have seen that happen quite a bit. In fact, I could show you 50 places out here in my nursery where that's happening right now. So that's one thing that will happen, is plants will root from the top, or seeds will germinate on the top and root through and root into the ground below. That will absolutely happen. Another thing that you got to be really careful about, now this thing's real sturdy, it's real tough. You don't have to be careful on it at all. I mean, I drive my golf cart and walk all over this thing. I've driven my truck across this thing, and it just doesn't rip very easily. But anywhere you put a hole in this stuff, whether it's a small tear or even holes from your staples, anywhere there's a hole, you're making a foothold for a weed to come up. So that's something to just be aware of. I have a place over here in my ground cover in another part of my nursery that just has a little tear in it, maybe the size of a silver dollar or something like that. And no matter how many times I pull weeds from that hole, they just keep coming up. And I'm telling you, they will find the holes. Another thing that's worth knowing is when you're laying out your ground cover, anywhere you have a seam, like right here, I'm standing on a seam, an overlap between 2 sheets, don't cheat. Give yourself a foot, give yourself a full yellow line space when you do it. The last time I laid this ground cover out, maybe a year ago or whatever it was, I decided I was going to leave myself about 1 inch, and that I was going to be smart, just leave 1 inch or so, and then that would give me an extra foot. And what has happened is all down that seam, here comes the weeds. It's the blackberry vines, and it's the crabgrass, and it's all kinds of weeds have found their way up through the cracks all over. And I'm telling you that to tell you, don't cheat on your overlap. It's not worth gaining an extra foot. It's just not. Make you another run, get you some more ground cover. You're going to be much happier with what happens as a result. So those are just a couple of things that are worth mentioning that's good to know. And if you try to keep your ground cover clean, like take a blower and blow it off once in a while around your plants, that will really help as far as weed seeds germinating on top and rooting through. So those are all some things that are worth mentioning with this ground cover. So guys, this is just us laying out our ground cover for what's going to be our mum field, and you can apply this on the largest of scales or the smallest of scales. And we've got a little bit more work to do here. I've got a couple of hundred more staples I'm going to try to get put down in here in the next couple of hours or hour before it gets completely dark. But this is what it looks like for us, and you guys will be seeing more of this as the year goes on, as we begin getting our mums together and putting everything together out here. I'll show you guys that as we go. But for today, this is all I'm going to show you because it's all I got. But I do appreciate y'all watching as always, and I love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one.